Welcome. I'm Larry Seaman for Around Town, where we try to focus in on the people and places of the Haverhill community. Today we're going to be talking about the news media in Haverhill, past, present, and future. And our first stop will be the Haverhill Gazette, where we'll be talking to Gerry Molina and Tom Vardabedian. So why don't you come on in and join us? The Haverhill Gazette debuted on January 6, 1821, thanks to Nathan Burrell and Caleb Hersey. It started out in support of the Whig Party until 1852, when the paper chose to take an anti-slavery stand and then supported Abraham Lincoln as the candidate of the Republican Party. John Greenleaf Whittier, Haverhill's poet, had most of his early works published by the paper and eventually became its editor, but had to leave due to its inflammatory abolitionist editorials. The paper has gone through a lot of turbulence, turmoil, and stiff competition through the years, and although the paper is 180 years old, it's still young at heart. It plays a major role at informing the public of the events and major decisions that affect the lives of this community. So let's go inside now and meet the staff and its editors as they graciously open the doors for us to see what it's like. With me today is the editor of the Gazette. It's Gerry Molina. Thank you for inviting me to your office.
It's a pleasure.
What has the Gazette brought to the city and to the community?
The Gazette has, for 180 years, been a chronicler of the big things going on in Haverhill and the little things going on. It's announced must have been tens of thousands of events and helped draw people to those happenings. It has been a friend of the family, announcing all the milestones in people's lives from birth to death. It has been a good friend to people who had good causes to promote, and a goad to a lot of public officials over the years, not just now, but way back. And very important, it's been an active partner of the business people in this community who saw the need to have a newspaper and who supported it with advertising in their own self-interest, but also because they knew that having a newspaper in the community was extremely important. I think any newspaper's assets are its chief asset is its relationship with its readers. If readers pick it up and believe what they see in it, at least most of it, then they will continue reading it, and they will look at the ads in the paper, and they will be drawn to the stores that are advertising things in the newspaper. And business side is very important of a paper. A newspaper is a business, and it is supposed to make money. But most people think of it as something that they come home to, pick up on a weekly or daily basis, and peruse. They do that to inform themselves. They do that for entertainment. They do that because they're curious. They do that because they're angry sometimes. They want to know what's going on. They do that because they wondered, what was going on down the street, a couple of nights ago.
Right.
They want to know what that baby's name that was born to their neighbors. The Eagle Tribune Publishing Company, which has owned the Gazette now for 3 years, just over 3 years, has a tradition, however, of maintaining quality weekly newspapers in communities where they also circulate the daily newspaper. And the Gazette is now part of that partnership. In some ways, we supplement the coverage provided on a daily basis by the Eagle Tribune. In other ways, we are right out there competing with them, having a joyous good time doing it. And we also sometimes are able to provide more perspective on some local issues. We are filled with names and faces of local people who are doing all manner of things and running all manner of enterprises. And we are all Haverhill. We're in the same marketplace, and I think what's important is that people know that they can get something out of both newspapers, and it's important to have different points of view on news and on the editorial pages and sports and in other areas. I think in some areas we do better. We
Right,
provide better
right.
coverage than the Eagle Tribune.
I agree. Let's hone in just a little bit more about yourself and about your job. Could you give me a little detail as to what does an editor do? What's the daily activities of an editor? And those kind of things.
Well, my activities vary by the time of week. At the beginning of the week, until the newspaper is published on Wednesday at noon, I am a very busy editor. I do hands-on editing. I look at people's reporters' stories. I help them make them better, and then I put them in the newspaper. So at a weekly newspaper, that is a fairly typical role for an editor. I do have a time after the paper goes to bed when I can do a variety of things, including thinking about how to make a better product and going out in the community and finding out what really is going on and working with the reporters to improve their skills and playing a small role in the community.
Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to talk a little bit about your background. Could you give me an idea of what you've done in the past and how long you have been at the Gazette?
Okay, I came out of school. I fell into newspapering and down in Newburyport. And after 4 years of being a reporter and a kind of a junior editor, I went off and had the adventure that every young person really ought to have. I went into the Peace Corps, and I taught for 4 years in Kenya, in East Africa.
Excellent.
When I came back, I got a job at the Eagle Tribune, which I had admired from down the river when I first started out, and I was there for 25 years in a variety of roles.
Wow.
When the Eagle Tribune bought the Gazette in 1998, I came over here to preserve a legacy that does go back 180 years and is worth preserving.